Hello, everyone. Welcome to Kudlow. I'm Larry Kudlow. Now, reportedly, Joe Biden recently told former President Barack Obama that he's going to run for re-election. It's a bravado point, but frankly, I don't see how he can possibly do it. Right now, polls are suggesting only about a third of the country supports him. Virtually his entire agenda to transform America has been defeated. Catastrophe after catastrophe has broken his presidency. It began really with the collapse of Afghanistan, continued the crisis of inflation and gasoline prices, his COVID masking policies in disrepair. An expected bounce in the polls from the Russia-Ukraine war never materialized, as he's always been a dollar short and a day late. Even now, he's so intimidated by Vladimir Putin, he won't announce a mission goal of Ukrainian victory. The crisis at the border continues to deepen and will become far worse when Title 42 expires. The national crime problem seems unsolvable. His boasting about a miracle infrastructure bill has just been undermined by his own White House Council on Environmental Quality that is overturning congressional intent by imposing outrageously restrictive environment rules that will literally stop construction and kill millions of hard-hat blue-collar jobs. Even renewable projects will be stopped by the radicals on his staff. His proposals for significant tax hikes, hugely unpopular. His questionable family finances rest precariously in the hard drive of son Hunter's laptop. His personal behavior repeatedly suggests cognitive disabilities. Mr. Biden may think he's going to run again, but almost no one else does. Now, voters are always willing to forgive presidential mistakes if they see clear evidence of a change in policy. Okay, this hasn't worked, so we're going to try something different. The trouble is, for Mr. Biden, in almost every case, he remains in denial that there is a problem. And that by itself is perhaps his own single biggest problem. Things are happening that aren't supposed to happen, and yet he's not doing anything about it, which leaves the country in a rather hopeless, demoralized anxiety. Today looks bad, but tomorrow's going to be worse. Come what may in the midterm elections this November, where I do believe the cavalry is coming to change the whole Congress, you still have 2.5 years of a Joe Biden presidency. And in a country that loves to be optimistic, this becomes a rather pessimistic point. What's at stake here, particularly in a wartime situation with a virulent inflation and a deteriorating economy, is America's future. And that is much more important than Joe Biden's future. Folks know there's something very wrong with this story. Now, I am attracted to a recent Wall Street Journal op-ed by Senator Mitt Romney, the former governor and GOP standard bearer, who's an excellent economic thinker, writes, and I will quote, "Of all the Biden eras, worsening inflation, too much spending, too much borrowing, too much money printing, too many regulations, and so forth." But then the money sentence in Mitt Romney's piece, and I'm going to quote directly, "President Biden needs to ditch his woke advisors and surround himself with people who want to get the economy working again." That's it. You know, usually when things go very wrong in a presidency, the chief executive moves to change and replace his senior people. Yet, incredibly, with all the mistakes in foreign policy, economic policy, border policy, and all the rest, no heads have rolled. This is remarkable and devastatingly disappointing, because if the same left woke group responsible for the mistakes in security and the economy remain in place, then the mistakes will be repeated. Nowhere is this more evident than the obsession with climate change that forms the backbone of everything the Bidens do. But we have an inflation emergency. We have a big economic problem. We have a huge energy problem. We have a big border problem. We have a war in Ukraine. What we don't have is a climate crisis. Now, if Mr. Biden's going to keep this country afloat in the months ahead, he has got to make heads roll. As Mitt Romney said, ditch his woke advisors. Now, here's a respectful, polite suggestion. Fed Chair Jay Powell who talks the talk but does not walk the walk in the fight against inflation, has not yet been confirmed by the Senate. So I think his nomination should be pulled. And I think Democrat economist and Clinton-Obama advisor Larry Summers should replace Powell at the helm of the Fed. Summers has been right about inflation. Biden and Powell and Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen have been completely wrong. Other moderate Democrat economists like Jason Furman or Steve Ratner, or on the security side, former DHS Secretary Jay Johnson, should be brought into the Biden cabinet. Again, these are just a few polite and very respectful suggestions. All I'm saying is America comes first. Before Joe Biden's reelection campaign, America is much more important. That's why it's time for some big changes in the White House staff, or things will just continue to go downhill. And that's not good for the country. That is not good for America. And that's my riff.